It's the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are coming to you from the frozen tundra of our respective homes here on this Monday afternoon. Be here with you for the next couple of hours discussing local, regional, and national sports topics and trying to stay warm. Anybody that knows me knows I hate being cold, so this is not my time of year at all, but we're going to try to struggle through this, Wade.
Yeah, this is the time where we pray to the heating gods, right? Make sure that everything stays all right, make sure the pipes are good, and just hold on for dear life.
Exactly. Looking forward to it. Got a pretty good show lined up. Got some great guests. In the second hour, we will visit with TERESA Walker of the Associated Press as we kind of pronounce the 24 Titans passing. She was on hand for that 23-14. What do you want to call it?
Finale.
What the beat? Huh? Finale. Yes. I think that's probably the best way to go with it. And fortunate, the 23-14 finale as the Titans fall to Houston. We'll talk about what's next or what we think is next, maybe, for them as they head out of 24 and head into 25. Now, in the next segment, we'll be joined by Nashville Predators play-by-play announcer Pete Weber, because as cold as it is, the Preds are on a heater. They have won their last two and going for a third straight tonight, which would match a season high if they were to actually pull that off. So we will check in with Pete and get some thoughts on the suddenly surging Preds and see if there's light at the end of the tunnel or if it's just another train. So looking forward to visiting with Pete and getting his insight on the weekend's events on the road for Nashville. We'll also be talking little high school hoops. There was an occurrence on Friday night that we need to give some light to. So stick around for that. SEC basketball, the men got going on Saturday. The women continued yesterday, and we'll discuss some results from both of those days here in the next bit. Obviously, the Titans weren't the only team to finish up NFL regular season play yesterday. We'll talk about the weekend here in a bit. And you can never go too far without talking about the portal and without talking about NIL. And we've got some of both to get to here as the show progresses. So stick around for all that. Plenty to talk about in the world of sports, and we're going to talk about a lot of it. So stick around. Should be fun. Wade, how was your weekend?
Man, the weekend was good. Like you said, Titans game notwithstanding, it was cold. It was tough to watch. But TERESA, Blaine, and myself, we did the best we could. I told everybody going into the game, I said, this is a pro game. If you can work this one, you can work anyone. And so if you were there and you can survive that one, you can survive any of them. But we were kind of rewarded. A pretty ugly slate of NFL yesterday. Actually had a little bit of drama, which built up all the way to what we thought would be the height of the drama, only to kind of have the rug pulled out a little bit. So I'm fortunate that the football gods gave us a little taste. We had a little inkling of a taste on Saturday night, and then Sunday gave us some little unexpected drama. But now all the eyes obviously point toward what's going to happen in April if you're a fan of the boys in the Two-Tone Blue.
Absolutely. Not much to look forward to for the Titans until April at this point, unless something changes. So we'll visit with TERESA and get her thoughts on what we can maybe expect between now and the draft. But the Titans are on the clock, so we'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and get into today's show. Let's start it up with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Hey, gang, want to remind you that the Monday Rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Murray County. So give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit them online at zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. Once again, that's Zion Christian Academy, where they're prepared for college and equipped for purpose.
Girls high school basketball action from Friday. Santa Fe went on the road, picked up a 59-13 win at Battle Creek. Livingston Academy with a 50-36 win over Beach. It was Independence 38, Cane Ridge 35. Cascade with a 61-37 win over Murfreesboro Central. Rockvale defeated Centennial 63-29. It was Columbia Academy 56, Grace Christian of Franklin 21. Cornersville down Zion Christian 64-31. Pickett County with a 66-52 win over Eagleville. East Robertson edged Clay County 55-54. Ezell Harding with a 50-40 win over Liberty Creek. Overton 83, Glencliff 10. It was Blackman 51, Green Hill 33. McEwen with a 60-31 win over Harpeth. Harpeth Hall edged Father Ryan 37-36. Kirkwood outlast Kenwood 56-50. Christ Presbyterian Academy with a 51-38 win over Lipscomb Academy, and Loretto 62, Lewis County 21.
Other women's scores from Friday night. Westmoreland was a 34-28 victor versus Macon County. Franklin Road Academy taking care of Middle Tennessee Christian 79-34. It was Community all over Mount Pleasant 71-13. Nolansville on top of Siegel 67-23. Perry County with a 54-42 win versus Houston County. Innsworth taking care of Pope John Paul II 63-44. Portland dispatching White House Heritage 54-28. Richland Downs Fayetteville 58-35. Springfield 53, Gallatin 32. Summit with a nice win 59-45 over Columbia. Trousdale County defeating Watertown 48-38. Other scores: Stewart's Creek 68, Warren County 44. It was Waverly 47, Montgomery Central 32. Webb School taking care of BGA 76-24. And capping women's scores, it was Mount Juliet 68, Wilson Central 52. Checking out boys basketball. More on this game in a moment. But what a game it was for Santa Fe, who cruised to an 87-31 win versus Battle Creek on Friday night. It was Beach taking care of Station Camp 70-52. Cane Ridge squeaks by Independence 66-62. Cascade downing Murfreesboro Central Magnet 59-23. Rockvale 84, Centennial 75. Columbia Academy with a 72-66 win over Grace Christian Franklin. Cornersville slipping by Zion Christian 84-61. Good win for the Bulldogs there. It was Eagleville 74, Pickett County 71. Clay County 49, East Robertson 25. Ezell Harding with a 59-52 win versus Liberty Creek. Franklin defeating Marshall County 77-62. Giles County with a nice win on Friday versus visiting Harriman 68-33. John Overton taking care of Glencliff 65-30. It was Good Pasture all over Whites Creek 70-46. Hillsboro with an 11-point win 67-58 versus Houston. And Joe Burns taking care of Todd County Central, that's from Kentucky, 43-37 was your final.
Also, Kirkwood with a 47-31 win over Kenwood. Brentwood Academy defeated Lead Academy 84-58. It was Lipscomb Academy 53, Christ Presbyterian Academy 37. Loretto with a 70-33 win over Lewis County. It was Montgomery Bell Academy defeating Father Ryan 73-32. Macon County with a 45-40 win over Westmoreland. Mount Pleasant defeats Community 65-46. Nolansville with a 59-52 win over Siegel. Page extinguished the Tennessee Heat 76-59. Houston County with a 49-42 win over Perry County. Pope John Paul II 70, Innsworth 64. It was White House Heritage with a 55-49 win over Portland. Richland 75, Fayetteville 23. Tellico Plains with a 73-43 win over Smyrna. Gallatin defeated Springfield 69-57. Summit with a 48-42 win over Columbia Central. It was Watertown 43, Trousdale County 21. Providence Christian with a 67-45 win over University School of Nashville. Warren County defeated Stewart's Creek 68-52. Waverly with a 71-56 win over Montgomery Central. It was Webb School 70, Battleground Academy. I'm sorry, Webb School 72, Battleground Academy 60, and Wilson Central with a 66-34 win over Mount Juliet. In women's basketball action on Friday, Fisk defeated Tougaloo 69-64, I guess. On the ice, the Nashville Predators out at Vancouver pick up a 3-0 victory over the Canucks. And in the association, it was the host Sacramento Kings 138, Memphis 133.
Girls basketball from Saturday now. Getting kick started with Beach, who was a 55-44 winner over Hillsboro. It was Franklin Road Academy with 66. Tennessee Heat just putting up 18. Good win for FRA there. Clarksville Academy 58-37 over Friendship Christian. Good Pasture slipping by Nashville Christian 51-37. Sycamore on top of Lawson 51-24. Ezel Harding showing a score of 2-0 versus Mount Juliet Christian. Check your local listings on that one.
That is a forfeit. Mount Juliet Christian does not have girls basketball.
There we go. Good win for Ezel Harding. How about that?
There we go.
Cannon County with a 48-42 win versus Murfreesboro Central Magnet. It was Page taking care of Marshall County. That's the Kentucky version of Marshall County, 67-53. Upperman cruising by Creekwood, 57-27. Boys games from Saturday. Beach putting up 100, just 27 for Kip Nashville. Quality win and quality number there for Beach. It was Davidson Academy 50, DCA 39. Friendship Christian cruising past Clarksville Academy 70-52. Good Pasture on top of Nashville Christian 83-54. Lawson turning back Sycamore 58-38. It was Jackson Christian 54, Middle Tennessee Christian 38. Ezel Harding defeating Mount Juliet Christian in boys action 62-40. Cannon County cruising to a 70-45 win versus Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Other scores: Smyrna 66, Ray County 64. Sounds like a good one there. Also sounds like a good one between Tellico Plains 65 and Smyrna 63. Loretto with a 59-43 win versus South Gibson, and it was Upperman defeating Creekwood 66-35. College scores from Saturday. Women's action, it was Lee defeating Trevecca 65-47. UT Southern with a nice win versus visiting Blue Mountain 87-68. Little Rock takes care of TSU 67-63. Austin P with an 8-point win on the road at North Florida. It was Lipscomb taking care of Eastern Kentucky 79-48. Belmont 79, Southern Illinois 66, and MTSU with a nice 69-41 win versus Liberty.
Men's basketball action on Saturday. Trevecca with an 82-78 win over Lee. UT Southern with a 67-62 win over Blue Mountain. Tennessee stays unbeaten, stays number one with a 76-52 win over visiting Arkansas in the SEC opener for both those teams. More later on that. Lipscomb 96, North Florida 64. Jacksonville with a 68-44 win over Austin P. Vanderbilt goes to Baton Rouge, picks up an 80-72 win over Louisiana State, and Tennessee State defeats Little Rock 95-86. Also, Belmont defeating Illinois Chicago 92-87, and Liberty with a 73-63 win over visiting Middle Tennessee State. On the ice Saturday, again, the Preds 4. The Calgary Flames 1, and out on the West Coast, the road unkind to the Grizzlies as they fall at Golden State 121-113. Sunday, women's basketball action. Oklahoma stops Tennessee's string of 12 straight wins to open the season with an 87-86 victory. Tennessee trailed by as many as 19 in that one. Again, we'll talk more about that later. Also, Vanderbilt falls in SEC play at home against number 16 Kentucky, 96-78 the final there. And in the National Football League, we've talked about it some. We'll talk about it more. Houston 23, Tennessee 14.
Take you into today's schedule, final bit of the rundown here. Basketball doubleheader action. Games getting underway at 6 o'clock. You can catch Siegel at Brentwood. Shelbyville is at Clarksville Northeast. It'll be Lewis County at Culleoka. Maplewood traveling to East Nashville. FC Boyd Senior Christian is at Franklin Road Christian. Kenwood is at Good Pasture. Sycamore traveling to Greenbrier. Hickman County will be at Santa Fe tonight. Again, all those are double headers, all beginning at 6. Standalone girls contest for tonight. Mount Pleasant is at Cornersville at 6. Watertown is at Gordonsville at 6. And we have a lone men's basketball showdown tonight here in the mid-state as Brentwood will travel to Franklin. That game is also scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. Women's college basketball, Fisk will be at UT Southern tonight at 2 p.m. And that'll make sense in a second because men's basketball is on the road at Dalton State at 6 tonight. Dalton State with no women's program, so Fisk agreeing to come on down and play the ladies at 2. UT Southern men on the road at 6. Talked about the Grizz. They're back in action tonight, and they're back at home at 7 p.m. They'll host the Dallas Mavericks. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. You can catch it on FanDuel Sports South. That brings us to the end of our schedule for tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Monday Rundown.
Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. In all of Tennessee high school boys basketball history, there had been 22 players to score 3,000 or more points in their careers. That number changed on Friday night, early Friday night, as Alton Slaughter's first basket was a three-pointer, giving him 3,001 career points for Santa Fe in an eventual 86-31 win over at Battle Creek. Slaughter finished with 31 points. He now has 3,029 career points, making him number 21 on Tennessee's all-time list of boys basketball players. 4 points short of Jason Holwerda, who played his high school ball at Chattanooga Christian before standing out at Vanderbilt. With 11 points, Alton Slaughter will go past Coach Penny. And I don't mean Brian Collins. I mean Anthony Hardaway, who scored 3,039 points at the now closed Memphis Treadwell from 1986 to 1990. I'll tell you, man, there's some names on this list. Penny might be the most impressive, but Tony Delk is up there and in reach. Former Vanderbilt standout John Jenkins from Station Camp is in reach. Tyreek Key, who you probably remember from Clay County and played his final season of college ball at Tennessee. Mike Rhodes, the country of Vanderbilt's Town and Country with Charles Davis back in the mid-'70s is on this list. Alton is not going to catch the all-time leader, Monk Montgomery, who played at Kittrell from 60 to 63 and scored 4,013 points. But, it's Wade, we get to do some pretty cool stuff in this business sometimes. I had never seen a 3,000-point scorer score his 3,000th point. So this was this was pretty special Friday night to be able to be out there for that coverage at mainstreetmurray.com, obviously. But congratulations to Alton.
Absolutely. He has been electric to watch from the moment he has donned a Santa Fe uniform, and it really almost felt like not a question of if but when, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got our answer Friday. And as you said, I've got the list pulled up, and the names just continue to impress and impress. I feel pretty confident that Penny's going to get slipped on by here. And who knows where Alton is going to end up. We're talking about a guy that is better than I this season, but I mean, this is a guy that's was averaging 30 plus last year and is capable of going for 40 plus on any given night. So who knows how high he can climb on this list. It'll be kind of fun. And the cool thing to me to watch is it's not a one-trick pony. We've obviously seen Santa Fe have some success getting all the way to Murfreesboro last year. So it's a great kind of culmination, but there's still a lot more at stake for him and for that program there this year.
Absolutely. He's averaging 31.4 points a game. Again, he hit right at his average on Friday night, but in the game before that, he had 37 in the second half down at Lawrence County. So, like you said, this guy can go, and he can, just like the team is not a one-trick pony, neither is he. I mean, he's a from the three-point line all the way in, he can score it. And if you've not had a chance to see him, if you like good high school basketball, might be worth it to check him out. I know they in Richland have a game coming up here pretty soon, and that one is not to be missed. Big district matchup right there. So it'll always be fun when those two get together, and certainly with Alton on the floor. So 3,029 career points makes him 21st in Tennessee boys basketball history right now, and that number is going to continue to climb. So congratulations to him. And as you said, trying to get back to the state tournament, so they're just not worried about Alton scoring points. They're trying to stack some wins. They are 10-2, 11-2, something like that, and working their way again toward Murfreesboro for a second straight year after falling in the Class 1A state semifinals a year ago to eventual state champion Chattanooga Prep. So trying to get back to the glass house again behind ace scorer Alton Slaughter or the Santa Fe Wildcats, and look forward to keeping up with them as they do that. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be joined by the voice of the Nashville Predators, Pete Weber. Stay tuned. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are now joined by Nashville Predators play-by-play voice, Pete Weber, to talk about the suddenly surging Nashville Predators. Back-to-back wins on Friday and Saturday night. One at Vancouver, one at Calgary. Pete, why would we think that this light at the end of the tunnel is not a train?
That's a good question. And hoping that it's not, that it's something that shows that there's something there that they can be better than what they have shown the first part of the year. I think we see the talent that has been there and helped them out quite a bit. And they're doing it. This is kind of like, I believe if we were to take a recording of this show from a couple of years ago and go back when all the injuries hit the team and then the youngsters called up from Milwaukee helped propel them to a playoff berth, I'm wondering if this isn't much the same narrative. I mean, they had to recall Kevin Gravel today from Milwaukee to bring up yet another D-man because Jeremy Lauzon was placed on injured reserve. So these are, next man up. The next man up has been filling in very well for this team right
now. It just got to be same song, second verse, third verse, fourth verse. It felt like as we discussed this team, I mean, looking back over the schedule here, getting ready for the show, this is only the third time all year that they have won consecutive games. They won 3 straight back in mid to late October.
Right.
They won a couple back-to-back right before Christmas, but this is the third time that they've won consecutive games. And Pete, I think, for us, the frustration is the way they played late last year kind of accelerated some expectations, and then what they went out and did over the offseason with the talent that they added over the offseason, you expected better, and you certainly didn't expect this. I mean, how does this happen?
Another great question. And I got to tell you, I almost hate to use this phrase, but what Barry Trotz did with the team's salary cap room, he went out and spent money like a drunken sailor. That's a very popular way of approaching that. And as we know, sometimes drunken sailors don't always go out into the marketplace and end up that well. But and maybe this was an example of that. But the guys they've brought in, 40 goal scorers, Stanley Cup winners, and a strong defenseman in Brady Shea, even though none of us can understand the spelling of his name, Shea, S-K-J-E-I. So, but that's typical Minnesota spelling for him. And that's how it all worked out. But what they're doing right now, number one, from the very outset of the year, the goaltending has been strong. People have said, is UC Saros falling off? I don't know what he's falling off. What has hurt him are all sorts of loose pucks left in front of the net and teams pouncing upon them and scoring against him. Because for the most part, I think he has played Vezina level goaltending for them. And that is to say, leading in the league in terms of goaltending. And the goaltender that was added in the trade with Colorado, bringing in Justus Annunen, who just happens to be, and I don't know, it's not like Latvia where there's only one town. Riga is the only town I know in that country. But Kempele in Finland also happens to be the hometown of one Pekka Rinne. And evidently we could say that is goaltending central right there, because Annunen has played extraordinarily well as UC Saros has.
Pete, I got to ask, what did you take away from the 2 wins we've seen over the weekend that maybe kind of gives you a little extra optimism? I love kind of the angle of maybe the young guard kind of swooping in and maybe just showing the guys with unbridled enthusiasm how to win. I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts? How does Nashville piece together a couple more wins here to maybe get things rolling?
And it's not going to be easy because the next game is tomorrow night in Winnipeg, which has been one of the leading clubs in the league from the very outset of the season. But what I saw, and yes, I did mention youngsters stepping in and getting the job done, but what we saw the other night in Calgary, really, when you come right down to it, was getting the veterans to come through, getting a hat trick, the second hat trick of his Predators career for Ryan O'Reilly. And he just dominated that game. One other thing we did see, we saw one of the free agents who rarely, if ever, drops the gloves, Jonathan Marchessault, get into a scrap, which really seemed to spark the team. Now, people are going to say, there goes Pete Weber. He's an old-style hockey broadcaster. He loves goonery. But no, I think that did that. I think that had a positive effect on the team on Saturday night. And now, after a day of working out in Calgary, they head into Winnipeg to play tomorrow night and close out. This is the second time in team history, by the way, that the club has played twice in the month of January in Winnipeg. The last time they actually went home between the games. This time they're just staying on the road and going into Winnipeg, where last I checked, I believe it's -7 there right now. Oh. So, your words can get fractured when you speak in temperatures like that.
Absolutely. Hey, Pete, you mentioned Marchessault dropping the gloves. Was that something that maybe needed to happen and didn't happen sooner? Was he just looking for the right dance partner, so to speak, that night, or how did that come about?
He has not been a prominent dancer throughout his career, so it was totally atypical for him. So, yeah, that was not Fred Astaire emerging there. It was Marchessault doing something that was honest emotion, getting after it. And I from watching the guys on the bench, the way they responded, I thought was fantastic.
That seems like something that could really, I mean, it may seem small, a data point in the overall 82-game season, but this is also a franchise that we've seen little data points lead to big things. And, I'm kind of just crossing my fingers and hoping for good luck there in that regard.
Yeah, because Barry Trotz cannot find any more concerts for the team to go to that he could cancel and then go up to an 18-game unbeaten streak, as happened last year. That happened a great deal. So if you want to take a look, see what's scheduled at the Sphere in Vegas, and maybe there's a concert there that the team could latch on to.
Go to. Pete Weber of the Nashville Predators joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. The Preds look to extend their streak to match a season-high 3 as they go to Winnipeg tomorrow night. Now, this will be the third matchup between these two teams. Yes. They've split to this point.
Right.
Preds winning here at Bridgestone.
Yeah. Winnipeg was shocked that night here. You could just tell the look, even of the broadcasters' faces. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Not, to paraphrase Jack Buck.
Nice. Anytime you can paraphrase Jack Buck, it's a good thing. That was what? The
Gibson home run?
No. I'm talking about that win against Winnipeg. I mean, it was one of a very few, because they're still one of a very few. But I mean,
right.
They had other than that 3-game streak that they had early on, they had not won a whole lot of games. I can't tell what their record was with that win, but I mean, understandably, Winnipeg was a little stunned with that one and kind of took care of business a little bit better the second time around. But this team beats people that their record doesn't indicate that they should beat, which makes it even more frustrating to watch, I would think.
That it does. And I think it makes it more frustrating for management thinking about what they had put together and then not coming through to the level they thought it might happen, but it simply did not. So this has been a season where we have to constantly reevaluate. And as you change the roster up a little bit, piece by piece, then I think you have a chance of getting a better taste of what might be to come.
Pete, when you've been around the sport for a long time, obviously, I mean, have you seen
well earned? Yeah.
Have you seen a team that had the type talent on the roster struggle the way this team has?
Well, I certainly saw it long enough with the Buffalo Sabres when I was there. And I learned a lot about things at that point in time. But with the Predators, no, I can't say that I have. They've had, here from the outset and from the fall of 1998 to the present, They're the try to rise up and become an established team, throw away the expansion label, and then coming forward. No, this has been the downturn, to be certain.
Pete, I want to ask you a touch more on the personal side, but I'm reading your release from a couple months ago when it was announced, that you're not going to be hitting as many road games. Still going to do a few, but in that release, though, it mentions your significant other. You said at the time, I don't know if Claudia is too high on that. Let's check with her after the season. I got to ask you, what are Claudia's thoughts about your reduced schedule to this point thus far?
I think I'm driving her crazy so far. Like she said, you marry for better or for worse, but not necessarily for lunch. And that's what happens when you get a reduced schedule such as I have right now. But we are traveling quite a bit more. We did go to the Notre Dame Virginia game back in mid-November. And then I did a nice little trip to the Studebaker Museum in South Bend. Studebaker is where my mother worked when my dad went to school there. And we discovered old photos and stuff that was absolutely fantastic. It was a great time for me. And we're going to be going to pitchers and catchers in Arizona coming up because of the Four Nations tournament that will obliterate that part of the Predator schedule in mid-February, and take in Claudia's hometown the outdoor game with the Columbus Blue Jackets and Detroit Red Wings at the Horseshoe. That might be the last time we can walk in there together, because Claudia being an Ohio State grad and me being a Notre Dame grad, there's a good chance that they end up against each other in a national championship game coming up. And we already went to one game at Ohio State 2 years ago where we bought tickets 5 rows apart. So it was not to be at each other's throats.
Well done.
Very well done. This is why we love having Pete Weber on, man, because it's never a dull moment. I was going to ask if you went to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl.
No, because I felt I was at the Sugar Bowl at the end of the 73 season when Notre Dame beat Bear Bryant and company for the national title by 1 point. And I'd be hard-pressed to find a better outcome than that. Though I'll tell you, this one last week came darn close.
Pitchers and catchers report, you're killing me, man. You are definitely living your best life, and at the same time getting to do a little airtime with the Preds as well. Kind of the best of both worlds, I guess, right?
Yes, it is. So there's 8 road games it's going to work out to that I will do this year, and then all the home games, all the play. And I'm hoping I'm not speaking sarcastically here, but all the playoff games, and that's still a chance of getting in there. But can they pull off what the St. Louis Blues did in 2019, where they were in last place on January 3rd? And not only did they make the playoffs, but they hoisted Lord Stanley. I'll sign up for that if you put a contract in front of me right now.
I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't sign up for that if that were the case. But that is definitely glass half full type thinking right there. And like you said, with all the call ups and that kind of thing, trying to create some consistency and some continuity and that kind of thing is, I guess, the biggest challenge for this team, if that is the goal that's out there.
Well, it has to be. I mean, you have to think that way. And otherwise, I think you just absolutely need to go to a sanitarium or something like that to get yourself straightened out.
You dropped so much on me there in a short period of time that I kind of got a little overwhelmed. But the Studebaker Museum is in South Bend.
Right.
I never knew that.
That's where they made the cars up through, was it 1963, when they then moved their manufacturing plant, or just used their manufacturing plant in Hamilton, Ontario. And my dad and mother were so loyal to Studebaker. My dad even had a 1963 Studebaker Avanti, the Studebaker's answer to the Corvette Stingray, which was designed by Andy Granatelli on a cocktail napkin while flying across country. And Dad kept that. Matter of fact, he had it redone when I was in school. The local Studebaker dealer bought the Avanti plant and kept it going for a number of years after Studebaker itself had left South Bend. So yeah, Four Winds Stadium, home of the South Bend Cubs, is right across the street from the old Studebaker plant.
The Studebaker Avanti. I'd never heard of it. I'm going to have to Google that.
I think you need to.
I think I will. Pete Weber of the Nashville Predators joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Pete, as always, we appreciate your insight. And, you know, I can't necessarily say go Irish, but I really like the job that Marcus Freeman has done in a short period of time up there. And
so do I.
I would not necessarily be bothered if he continued. That's probably the best way I can put it.
I was lucky. My class reunion, my 50th class reunion, by the way, I was elected by my class to interview Marcus at the class dinner, and we had a great time on the stage there.
That's awesome. Pete, we appreciate it, man. And we'll catch up.
Please do. And don't hesitate to ask.
All righty. Sounds good. When we continue here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll talk a little Southeastern Conference men's basketball. There is one undefeated team remaining in Division I. We'll tell you who it is when we come back.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. And I'm cold. But anyway, it was not cold. Well, first of all, it was not cold at Rupp Arena on Saturday as Kentucky and Florida got after it in a big top 10 matchup, man. Great lid lifter for a great day of Southeastern Conference basketball. Kentucky with a 106-100 win over previously undefeated Florida right there. And, man, that's a tough one to lose. You score 100 points and you get beat, but it feels like it's going to be that way a lot in this conference this year. There's going to be some teams that are going to play well and get beat. So it's going to take some recalibration on the part of some fan bases, I think, across the SEC this year. And again, I think there are 9 SEC teams in this week's top 25. There were 10 last week. 6 in the top 10. And we talked to Blake Lovell about this last week. The level of play across this conference is just indescribable and unlike anything I think that we've ever seen.
Yeah, teams are going to be battling, I think, every night. I mean, it kind of feels like classic SEC, right? You're going to have to be at your best, really home or away, but especially on the road. If you're not up to snuff, you're probably going to catch an L. And this is going to be a league where it feels like the champ is going to survive just almost war of attrition is what it feels like. Just from one day of play, you can kind of already gather that almost.
Yeah, I mean, you look up and down the results. I mean, Oklahoma is undefeated. They go to Tuscaloosa and they catch a 28-point beatdown. I was shocked, really, that Tennessee took care of Arkansas as, I don't want to say easily, but as well as they did. I think it speaks volumes to what Tennessee is about at this point. But it's going to be a war literally every night out. And with that said, I think you got to give a hat tip to Vanderbilt, the only SEC road team to win on Saturday, going down to LSU and winning 80-72 with, a team that there's still a lot of questions about just because of the schedule that they've played and the personnel that they have. I mean, they're not going to wow you with size, as we've talked about on numerous occasions with both Blake Lovell and with Joe Sullivan, but they are figuring something out. And, LSU may not be one of the better teams in the SEC, but they are in the SEC. And to go down there and beat them by 8 at the PMAC is, I don't think that's a small feat. So
no, absolutely not. Two things both Blake mentioned on the show. He eerily nailed the forecast. He said, "What if Tennessee wins a game by 20 something and hold Arkansas at around 50 points?" And we saw the 76-52 finals. So hopefully Blake backed up the Brinks truck on DraftKings there and made some coin on that. On the other hand, he also told us too, yeah, LSU might be one of the teams to have some concern about, but it kind of goes back to the point, especially on the road. The sign of any quality league is you can't afford to overlook anybody on the road, and props to Vanderbilt for getting a win, because if they had came out and stubbed their toe, you could chalk it up and say, oh, okay, well, it was LSU. That's not a great loss, home or away. But who knows what it does, because they got to go right back around. Now they play Mississippi State coming up tomorrow night, and then they got at Missouri coming up this weekend. So the fact that Vanderbilt was able to start off with the win at least gets them rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, and with that being the case, ditto for Tennessee, because their next two are on the road, at Florida, at Texas. And, obviously,
part of it, yeah.
And obviously Florida's not going to be in a great mood after that loss that they just took in Lexington. So, but it just speaks to what you're going to see every night out, man. It's going to get crazy. It feels like I think Blake said that 13-5 could be your conference champion.
Feels like it.
It really does. I mean, some folks are going to lose some ball games, and there's not going to be any shame in it when they do.
No, I mean, yeah, if you're getting kind of bent out of shape about 2 or 3 conference losses, and you really kind of got to evaluate things for sure.
Yeah. In addition to those games that we discussed, Ole Miss down in Georgia, 63-51. Mississippi State all over South Carolina, 10-3 South Carolina coming into the game, 85-50.
Another team that Blake told us to watch out for, said Mississippi State could be sneaky good, maybe even make a run at this whole thing, he said Friday.
Well, they certainly announced their presence with authority at the hump on Saturday. Auburn with a big 84-68 win over Missouri. Missouri falling to 11-3 with that loss. But, they certainly feel like they're in a better spot than they were last year when they struggled the way they did, Missouri and Dennis Gates. But, yeah, Auburn number 2 in the country. I don't know when Auburn and Tennessee play each other, but it'd certainly be one to circle. And A&M welcoming Texas to the conference with an 80-60 victory at College Station.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun league, and the cool thing is I think everybody kind of already knows, and the Tennessee fans, especially, and Vanderbilt fans, I guess they're kind of already tapped in, right? Tennessee, you got a little bit extra longer kind of leash with football season, but I think by and large, a lot of folks were already tuned in, and so now the stage has kind of been set. You mentioned that game; they do play Auburn only once. We're only unfortunately going to get one meeting this year, but it'll be late January down at Auburn. So if those teams somehow navigate this gauntlet to get to where they are still unbeaten in league play, that certainly will be must-see TV. Tennessee, you mentioned Florida and then at Texas, but that stretch in late January, they go to Auburn and then host Kentucky in back-to-back games. So, I mean, it's going to be murderer's row, but there's no better way to get ready for the national tournament than by playing in a league like this night in, night out.
Oh, without question. You know, I had the thought over the weekend. If you can't play a home and home basketball schedule in your conference, maybe you have too many teams. Because for Auburn and Tennessee to only play once, kind of.
You think they're worried about basketball, though?
No, they clearly are not worried about basketball. I mean, that has been. No, I don't have any misgivings along those lines. It's just kind of an aside, and it's unfortunate, you know, particularly when you have become, I mean, dare we say, the best basketball conference in the country?
I mean, from a depth standpoint, and certainly regular season results, you could make that case, no bones about it. And if we could bust through and see one of these teams maybe hoist the trophy, then we could really have that combo. But from what we've seen thus far, there's nobody I really don't think outside of the most homer of homers for whatever respective conference they're arguing, it's going to really give you much of a resistance on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know who you would throw up to challenge that at this point. I don't have the AP Top 25 in front of me, and I probably should. But Vanderbilt got a vote this week, by the way. So congrats to the Commodores. They're finally starting to get a little attention at what? 13-1.
I have to check
Tennessee
who slipped it. I'm going to have to identify this individual, see who slipped him a courtesy vote there. Did him a kindness.
How does Utah State get into the top 25 and Vanderbilt not? Memphis up 2 spots to number 19, by the way, after their 4-point win over North Texas over the weekend. Tennessee, Auburn, Iowa State, Duke, and Alabama are your top 5. Kentucky, Marquette, Florida down 2 spots to number 8. UConn and A&M are your top 10. Kansas down 4 spots to 11. Houston, Illinois, Mississippi State, and Oregon round out your top 15. Michigan State coming in at number 16. Oklahoma down 5
start to their year.
Yeah. Oklahoma down 5 to 17. Gonzaga's at 18. Like I said, Memphis 19. Purdue at 20. West Virginia, UCLA, Ole Miss, Michigan, and Utah State complete your top 25. Again, Arkansas falling out of the top 25. They are now number 27, tied with Nebraska. Georgia getting votes. Missouri getting votes. And again, like we said, Vanderbilt getting that 1 vote courtesy of
Darnell Dixon from the Provo, Utah Daily Herald, ironically. He has Utah State ranked 24th. He's got Vanderbilt ranked 25th. He does not have West Virginia and does not have Michigan on his ballot. Those are his other ones.
Okay. All right.
So an odd twist of fate, the gentleman from Utah has got Vandy in there.
The gentleman from Utah. What is this week's schedule in the SEC. Tomorrow night is that Tennessee-Florida game. That's a 6:00 tip. It's on ESPN Plus, followed by Mississippi State at Memorial against Vanderbilt at 8 on ESPNU. So also tomorrow night, you got Kentucky at Georgia, Auburn at Texas, LSU at Missouri. Wednesday night, what we got? Alabama goes to Columbia, South Carolina, taking on the Gamecocks. Ole Miss is at Arkansas, and Texas is at Oklahoma. So you don't get any downtime with the midweek games in the SEC either. So
No, and like you said, it's going to be murderer's row, night in, night out. If you're a fan of any one of these teams, it's really a treat because you can do your homework by watching some of these others, and you're going to be treated to a pretty good game. And kind of like Blake said, we got a massive game in a sense. Thinking about Arkansas and Ole Miss, how does Arkansas bounce back? Because that was Blake's big question the other night was, yeah, they've been playing well. What happens if they get bought by 20 on the road by Tennessee and they got to go right back to the drawing board to play a pretty good Ole Miss team coming in? So
exactly.
It'll be electric. It'll be fun. Like you said, pound for pound, it is the best league, I think, this year, certainly thus far. And therefore, virtually every night is going to produce some sort of drama and theater.
Without question. Hour number 1 of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. Come back after the break for hour number 2 as we talk a little NFL.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilai Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we talked a lot about the final game of the 2024 regular season as we wound up the week last week, as Minnesota went to Detroit for the NFC North title. And it was a good game until it wasn't, Wade.
Yeah.
Minnesota was staying there and Detroit wasn't really pulling away. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're done with this. It was kind of like they were playing with their food a little bit. I don't know. 31-9, the final there, as the Lions pick up the NFC North Championship and the number 1 seed out of the NFC. Minnesota, meanwhile, falls to number 5, has to travel to LA to open postseason play. And I'm sure that Matt Stafford and company are like, really? Thanks, y'all.
Well, the crazy part is the Rams. We'll get into this. The crazy part is the Rams basically, even though they almost won, they rested everybody yesterday, seemingly knowing that, you're going to be locked into the 4 by not winning, and you're just content rolling the dice. So kind of an unusual strategy, and then it almost paid off. They almost got to rest everybody and still win the game, kind of throwing it away at the end with Garoppolo there. But you got Minnesota, who's banged up and bruised after such a crazy physical game. Those guys were flying around like it was the Super Bowl in the first 18 minutes or so of play last night until Detroit really kind of took hold. And you got Minnesota now flying all the way across the country, too. Not going to say the Rams are going to win this game, but, man, in a weird way, the science kind of, the McVay mad scientist vibes kind of maybe paying off.
And I guess the Vikings get an extra day. That's the Monday night game. So that's the final matchup of Super Wild Card Weekend, I think is what they're calling it. So you got Chargers, Texans, and Steelers, Ravens on
Props to the Texans,
Saturday.
by the way. Props to the Texans, by the way. Their 7th Saturday wild card time slot. That is the token AFC South champion game usually, and the Texans have got that honor 7 different occasions since 2012.
Wow.
So basically, you just set your watch by it. If the Texans are in the playoffs, they play on Saturday afternoon. Ain't no doubt about it.
Get them out the way so we can get on to the good stuff maybe. I don't know. Broncos Bills play the opener on Sunday, followed by Packers Eagles and Commanders Bucks. And man, Falcons so close.
Ooh, I was thinking about you yesterday, and I almost did a wellness check. That was the most riveting. I didn't know how you get down like that. I could have got a middle finger back. That was the most riveting part of the early window, because there was like 10 different stages between the Falcons and the Bucks game where everything was hanging in the balance, and the Bucks are absolutely laying a dud versus the Saints. The Falcons are getting outgunned at home by Bryce Young and company.
Yeah.
And then things kind of flipped, and then it all came to a head as the Bucks clinch it right as that Falcons game is going to overtime, and they play the overtime in kind of a meaningless sense. It was gripping theater, kind of in that witching hour at the end of the early slate yesterday.
It really was. And congrats to Mike Evans.
Oh, baby.
Very cool. Very cool that the Buccaneers were as focused on getting him that record as they were, and to be able to actually get it done. 11 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons for the former Texas A&M standout. Man, and I think people knew he was going to be good coming out of college, but I don't know that anybody thought that he would be good to this level for this long, and doing it in Tampa a little under the radar to some degree. We talked a little bit on Friday about the quarterbacks that he has played with and been able to put this kind of string together with, and that, I think that kind of makes it all the more impressive when you're talking about Mike Glennon and Josh McCown and folks like that have been on the throwing end of some of those 1,000-yard seasons that Mike Evans has been able to put together.
No doubt. And that was one of the cool parts too. To see his teammates when he makes that grab, basically a kneel down, in the sense that it bled the clock out, but that was cool. But on the other hand, you have the playoffs hanging in the balance and you are throwing the football. And if you're the Saints, how do you not have 10 guys guarding
Around
Mike Evans? That is the only reason that they're lining up to run a play instead of taking a knee. That was kind of shocking to see. And I did see that, he's probably going to take all of his teammates out to dinner. He's probably going to take some of the Saints out to dinner last night.
The Saints secondary, yeah.
That was, if there's a high snap and the Saints pick it up and run it in, if anything like that happens, you're not only losing the game and, sneaking in as a wild card, you're out of the playoffs completely. That was borderline. I don't want to go over the top. That was crazy coaching. But I loved every second of it because it worked out the way that it was supposed to, and it was so cool to see.
And I don't know that I've seen anybody say that way, but you're absolutely right. And
yeah, Baker sling a pick six by accident, your season's over. You go from winning the division to season over in the blink of an eye because you wanted to get Mike $3 million extra bucks next year. But man, it was awesome.
When keeping it real goes wrong, huh?
Yeah, hey, 100%. And then on the red zone, it was beautiful too. They had the split screen, and you see the Falcons out for the coin toss as the Bucs are kneeling. And man, if I had a Brinks truck, I would have been backing it up for the Panthers money line at that point because the Falcons look like, why are we even out here for the overtime? We did get to see Bryce Young. That division is going to be so much fun. It's always fun, but in like a weird, sick, and sadistic way to watch every year. But when you have Penix, when you have Baker, and now when you certainly have a rejuvenated Bryce Young who got the extra vote of confidence from ownership yesterday, that division will be electric to watch next year.
If you're Bryce Young, though, are you sitting there kind of giving it that dumb dog look when those guys say we think we've got our quarterback? It's like, where was this 2 months ago when y'all were sitting me down because I was so bad? I don't know. It's
who knew that Andy Dalton getting in a crazy fender bender would lead to the Bryce Young resurgence. It has been so fun. We have Alabama Bryce. We have Cole Bryce back there again, and he is slinging it. And the Panthers have signed for optimism next year. The Bucs, going to be an interesting matchup. They could easily win that game versus the Commanders Sunday night. And then who knows what happens. I think it's going to be a fun NFC bracket for sure. The AFC a little less compelling to me. I think the NFC is going to be a lot of fun.
Playoff Baker is going to be interesting. It'll certainly be worth keeping an eye on. And again, that'll be the Sunday night game, Washington at Tampa Bay on NBC. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to there. We mentioned the Broncos getting in as the number 7 seed out of the AFC, and a lot of noise coming out of Cincinnati about how 15-1 Kansas City chose to rest folks against the Broncos. And I don't get it. They were 15-1. They're the number 1 seed. They didn't have to play anybody, and they didn't. And Cincinnati's taking it as some kind of personal thing. Well, they didn't want us to get in. Handle your own business.
Yeah, on one sense, yeah, you got kind of almost got to say that if you're the Bengals. I don't know deep down how many folks really believe that, but also you kind of have to. On the other hand, if you win 2 or 3 of those games, if you win one of those games that you absolutely threw away earlier in the season, they lost to the Patriots week 1 for crying out loud. If you win any of those, you're not in this situation. And as hot as the Bengals are, yeah, it would have been fun to see them get in the postseason, but little crying over spilt milk, I guess, right there from Cincinnati down the stretch. Because Kansas City needs rest. The only thing I am worried about, is they played those 3 games in 10 days, culminating on Christmas. But now everybody's going to be resting since Christmas before they finally play their next game next weekend. So that is a long layoff.
Yeah, and when you consider the non-Pro Bowl quarterback Patrick Mahomes, is he rusty? Is he gathering rust? I mean, how do you combat that? So yeah, I guess that is a little bit of a concern, but they're the top seed. They've done something right here over the course of the season, so we'll see how that goes. And
real quick, it was a little shocking though. As good as their defense has been all season, and as many games their defense has won, that was a bit of a letdown. But it was fun to watch Bo Nix. Man, he finished 26 of 29 and was slinging it. He was running. He was electric, and it was cool to see Nix. I thought maybe there would be a little lemon booty, if you will, sneaking up in Bo Nix in that big of a moment. But, man, he not only stepped up, he delivered in a big way, and that was a good win for the Broncos when they needed it most.
Well, I wonder, though, how much of the lemon booty was impacted by knowing that you weren't seeing Kansas City's best. It might have been a little different if it had been Mahomes rolling out there instead of Carson Wentz. So
that's what I'm saying. We can put Nix right there in the middle tier. If he had been a full blown choke artist, we might have really seen some. She went away here, but we could have really seen some stuff from Nix if they had the starters out there. So props to him for stepping up, even though it was against a lesser unit for sure.
Absolutely. You mentioned the New England Patriots and that win that they had over Cincinnati early in the year, one of a few. Well, one of the few for Gerard Mayo, as it turns out, because Robert Kraft and the Patriots front office did not wait before they dismissed Mayo after one season. And, I don't know what the expectations were for this Patriots team this year, but to fire a first-year coach after this season, given the roster that you gave him, given the quarterback situation that you gave him, it feels a little foul to me.
Yeah, it seems something's up, and the whole situation, even with Mayo getting installed as the coach in waiting, the claim was that he had it written in his contract since like 2016 that he'd be the coach in waiting. I don't know that anybody knew that until last year. Right. It just felt bizarre from the jump, and I can't tell which side it felt more bizarre for. I don't know if that was one last favor for Belichick from Kraft or how that played out, but the way that it did play out certainly was messy. And to your point, yeah, he was going out there with a pea shooter trying to do his best. There's a reason New England was projected to have the fewest wins coming into the season.
Yeah, and maybe those projections didn't make it to Foxborough. I'm not sure, but and so obviously it sounds as if the line may be forming behind Mike Vrabel for that spot. And I guess it's just too easy to connect those dots, but I don't know that's. It'll be interesting to see if that is the direction that they go in, because again, that roster is not great.
It's not great. It does seem like they like what they saw out of May. I don't know. You could argue you like what you saw out of Milton yesterday too. And I know it was against the Bills' second string, but Bazooka Joe was looking pretty good back there. And then now you kind of feel confident in that position. That's why it was so interesting. That was the other big drama, obviously, and we'll talk more with TERESA about it in a minute. You got the split box with the Falcons and the Bucks duking it out for a division and a playoff, but meanwhile you got the split box and the Titans and the Patriots trying not to win, basically, to get the number one overall pick. And if New England had gotten that number one, they certainly don't feel like they need a quarterback. They just feel like they need extra pieces in that lineup. I'm going to be fascinated to see. You're right. Vrabel feels like the automatic or the easy choice. Just getting inducted in their Hall of Fame last year up there in Foxborough. But it also, nothing ever really seems like it plays out perfectly or that easy, right? It feels like Vrabel, yeah, there's so much love and so much camaraderie up there. But I also get the sense that Vrabel is kind of his own guy, and he's not just going to take that job just for fuzzy and fond and warm memories of previous years. He's going to do what's best for him, and he's certainly got his pick of the litter in this offseason.
You would think. I mean, I think he talked to your team, right?
Yeah, talk to the Jets. There were some rumblings, less rumblings, but rumblings with the Bears, of course. Jacksonville is going to become open. He's certainly familiar with that division. And as we talked with Ben Arthur, and I ran into him yesterday at Nissan, that's a loaded roster. Kind of just feels like they were very mismanaged this year. So maybe that's a gig that appeals to Vrabel. But it just almost feels like as clear cut as New England is. I would not be shocked if he doesn't end up there for that reason.
Sure. Jacksonville did not do it yesterday, but they did do it this morning. Doug Peterson is out. GM Trent Baalke still buying the groceries, apparently, despite winning just 4 games with the best team that they've assembled in Jacksonville, was what was said over the offseason. So the best team assembled goes 4-13.
Yeah, Black Monday was unkind to certain people down in Jacksonville. It seems like others got a little bit of a pass for some reason.
Yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if this was the best team assembled by the Jacksonville Jaguars ever, and this was what you got out of it, that seems to reach a little bit farther than the head coaching position to me. But clearly ownership thought otherwise. Shad Khan keeping Baalke around after Jacksonville falls to Indianapolis in overtime yesterday. Jacksonville 5-18 in their last 23 games now.
It's been grim. Titans knocked them out of the playoffs in the final game of last season, and they just never got rolling this year.
And obviously they got to figure out what the situation is with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you feel like you've got something to work with there, but at the same time, it's not exactly come through. So
another big question too is what's Dallas going to do? So far, Mike McCarthy is kind of just sitting there. I don't know that anybody really knows what to do. The one thing I did hear this over the weekend that'll probably play out this way. Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones, set your watch that they probably won't announce anything today. They probably won't announce anything this week. But right in the middle of one of them playoff games this weekend, right when everybody in America is tuning in, America's team will find its way into the news cycle. So props to Jerry Jones on another PR masterclass if that's how it plays out.
Somebody asked Jerry Jones if he would never not be GM, and he said no. He said, this is what I bought the team to do. So, I mean, I don't know how Dallas as a franchise gets over Jerry Jones as a GM, and I'm not sure they do.
Yeah, I mean, this point was brought up talking with a friend over this weekend. I mean, it kind of just comes down to similar with the Raiders, who I haven't seen the latest on Antonio Pierce, but, it feels like he's on borrowed time there if he's not already gone as we speak. And it comes down to, are you interested in making money and kind of being a brand name? Or are you interested in really making a run at this thing? And it kind of feels like, and I've said this many occasions, it feels like the Cowboys are more interested in the former than they are the latter.
I just don't know how you can be satisfied with mediocrity when you are that franchise and you've accomplished what you've accomplished with that franchise. Now Jerry Jones has really been on the fringe of that. I mean, it's been, 30 years since they've really been one of the top franchises from a competitive standpoint in the National Football League. So, maybe like you said, just making money is enough for him.
Feels like it to me. Making money, hand over fist, and then, like I said, finding ways, to your point, for a franchise that hasn't won a title since Bill Clinton was in office, finding ways to stay, quote-unquote, relevant and in the news cycle as America's team, that to me feels like that's all that they're about, and that's all that Jones is about. And so that kind of paints the picture right there. You can't really take yourself as a serious franchise kind of in that regard, and that seems like the regard the Cowboys are wanting to be treated in.
There we go. we take the queen of Tennessee sports media very seriously. And when we come back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will be joined by TERESA Walker of the Associated Press to talk a little bit about the Tennessee Titans as they wrapped up a #1 draft pick earning season with their 23-14 loss to Houston yesterday. Stay tuned after this.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are joined now by TERESA Walker of the Associated Press to talk a little Tennessee Titans following their season-ending 23-14 loss to the Houston Texans yesterday, securing the #1 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. So, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. TERESA, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is not the season that anyone expected, but it certainly is the season that they have. It is that simple, and it's not pretty. It's pretty ugly, actually. And, Brian Callahan made it very clear. And part of it is the fainting that will have to come over the next 4 months, that this is a franchise that's looking for a quarterback. They only have one under contract for 2025, and that's Will Levis. So for people that are ready to move on from the Will Levis experience, I'm sorry. But he is the only one they've got under contract for 2025. And Brian Callahan talked today about how, and Levis too, that, that coaches, see room for improvement, believe in him. And Callahan talked about the footwork and the, this and that and the other, but he also made clear that they have the cap space and for flexibility to go get a veteran. And we'll be looking at the draft. He's going to be helping look at these quarterbacks that are available, and we'll see where they're going to go. But more quarterbacks are coming, and Will Levis is going to have to compete in 2025 if he wants to be the starter of this team.
And the fact that he's going to be around to compete, like you said, is going to be a disappointment, I would think, for some folks in the Titans fan base.
Well, let's be honest. Nobody's going to be happy until this team is a winner again. And right now, trust me, I saw the bags on the heads of fans yesterday. Okay. I still don't know why, when a team is so bad and the weather is so bad, why people climb up into the upper bowels of that stadium, the upper bowl, and sit in those seats. It's like, trust me. I mean, have you never gone to a game and moved down? I mean, there were plenty of good seats literally available yesterday. So fans are unhappy.
I had a real good seat.
I'm sure. I bet it was warmer than the one I had in where I was.
Mm-hmm.
It was very cool up. Let's put it this way: I keep a bottle of water up against the window in the press box, and yes, it is an enclosed press box, but my water stayed cool even into the second half. That's how cool it was. And then it just got colder. And as I'm trying to wrap up, I'm writing some prep in case Amy Adams-Strunk does something this week. Well, because I had to update whoever the Texans were going to be playing after the end of the Chargers game, because they were either going to be hosting Pittsburgh or the Chargers. And I said last Wednesday or Thursday, it's like, they're going to be playing the first game on Saturday. I mean, come on. It's a tradition for the AFC South. I mean, I don't care if it's the Texans. I retweeted that earlier. They've had that slot. Guess what? So have the Titans. So have the Jaguars. I mean, that's the AFC traditional slot, because that's the small market AFC South spot, it seems. Unless there's a chance for snow, then that might get them Saturday night, maybe. But that's where they're at, and it's ugly. They spent the most money in the NFL this last offseason, right? Signing some of their own guys, going out and trading for L'Jarius Sneed, bringing in Chido Awuzie, Lloyd Cushenberry, who said he'll be ready for camp coming off the torn Achilles tendon. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, go down. They traded DeAndre Hopkins, for goodness sake. I mean, Brian Callahan said the secondary that they projected that they wanted put together for this season played about 100 snaps together. Okay. L'Jarius Sneed played 5 games before he dealt with a quad injury that he told reporters last week needed bone marrow injections to try to help him recover. So it's like, it's one of those situations that, it went off the tracks. This is not the season they expected. I picked them to be second in this division, not so much because I expected them to, go win double digits, but because with all the pieces they added a lot of talent to a roster. And the one thing that was made very, very clear as they went through this season that, you cannot make up for 3 busted drafts in one offseason, no matter how much money you spend. And Brian Callahan said today, we want to build our team through the draft and developing players. Well, we saw Jarvis Brownlee got a lot of starts, a lot of playing time. I think that's a promising player for them. And, there were some things like that. But, J.C. Latham, besides figuring out how many games he actually did play this year as a rookie, that's a young man that's going to develop. And he pointed out today in the locker room, he got lucky. He didn't face Aiden Hutchinson when they played Detroit. He didn't play Von Miller against Buffalo. But he did play Danielle Hunter and some of the top pass rushers in this league, and he got an eye-opening lesson. And they've got to fix the right side of that line. I mean, this is a team that still needs a lot and is going to be busy. And thanks to Spot Rack, right now they're 10th in projected cap space for 2025. And they've got the number 1 pick. And let's put it this way. We've got our phones on alerts for, social media and checking email every 5 minutes because Amy Adams-Strunk hasn't talked to anybody that we know of yet. She didn't talk to us. Brian Callahan hadn't talked with her today. He did player exit interviews, which would seem to indicate that he's safe after 1 year. But Mike Vrabel was the first coach that did not talk to the media. And there's been lots of coaches fired after talking to the media in this organization. Mike Mularkey, he went to a divisional game, talked to us, and then got canned. So the fact that Brian Callahan talked to us doesn't indicate that his job is safe. But the fact that they were all praising this hiring after a ton of interviews last year, to me, indicates you have to stick with him. Why? Well, you knew you were hiring a first-time head coach and a first-time play caller. Now, Brian Callahan was asked, do you think about giving up those jobs, the duties of play caller? And he's like, I'll look at it, I'll think of it, but that's a part I really enjoy on game day. He also talked about how much he learned this year. He compared it to being a first-time parent. You can read all the books, you can think you're ready, but until the baby comes,
you ain't ready.
You cannot become ready for anything in life until you actually do it. He learned a lot. And, the Titans have to see, and it feels like the Titans have to let him have a second season and give him more tools on the roster and more time. And now coaching changes on his staff. He said that's something he'll dive into later. Today was all about player exit interviews because they were literally filling the bags and heading out the door.
Yeah, Teresa, you made a point that you can't make up for 3 busted drafts in one off season. And when you put it in those terms, I feel like that, as much as anything, is, your indication that not just Callahan, but Carthon as well are both going to be back, I would think, because I don't think you bring one back without the other, for one thing. But, the lack of talent on this roster, and as much as you felt like you went out and addressed a lot of it over the offseason, the health of some of that talent didn't allow you to. But I mean, you've got Traylon Burks. I mean, that's just a name. We don't have to talk about him, but I mean, just different situations like that.
Caleb Farley, Isaiah Wilson. Yes, we can go on and on.
Yeah, and so, trying to fill those spots with NFL winning caliber athletes doesn't just happen overnight. Now, I mean, I don't know how long it does take, but I don't think you can do it in one off season, obviously. And
well, the Titans tried and spent a lot of money, and they made a lot of moves and thought they had a roster that they can compete with. But a couple of things. There's a lot of self-inflicted wounds that they have to clean up this offseason. I mean, turnovers, they tied Cleveland for the most giveaways in the NFL. Now, there were more teams that, let me look at my story that I filed. I looked up. They weren't the most penalized team. They finished with 140 penalties for 1,030 yards. Cost them 39 first downs. Only the Jets had more penalty yards in the NFL. The Titans were 5th in total penalties. So think about that. You just fix those areas, quit. I mean, think about how many false starts. Holds are going to get called, but the false starts, the neutral zone infractions, and J.C. Latham and, rookie, he's going to get better, you would think. Nicholas Petit-Frere, the weakest link was the right tackle spot that they just kept trying. It was like plug and play, and they kept trying to find an answer, never could. And so many of those just stopped drive after drive after drive. And, for all the, and guess what? Will Levis, finished with, I've got that number. He finished with 18 of the 34 giveaways. Yeah. And he was just lucky that number didn't get worse yesterday. Because why? Well, that ball was bobbled, or it would have been, yet another pick. It would have been 19.
Teresa,
Wow.
having said all that, is deep down, do you think the Titans exercise the number one pick, or is this a deal where they in your mind have to trade this?
Wade, two things. To trade, you got to have a partner to dance with, and you've got to have a package there. I mean, think about it. If they go out and get a quarterback in free agency, and I'm sorry, but looking at the potential market, it's not great. And so it's like I could, and Callahan said they're going to do all the due diligence you can think of. And he's going to scout the quarterbacks. And sorry, I mistagged a story to an editor. And there,
it wasn't a story about Aaron Rodgers coming to Nashville, was it?
No. Anyone who it was not a good idea before he went to the Jets. Why would it be a better idea now that he's 2 years older and still coming off the Achilles? I saw the stories coming out of New York that the way he played in Week 18, way teams finish, it's fool's gold. I mean, Antonio Pierce, they kept him as the permanent coach with the Raiders. And he finished this season winning 2 of 3. Why? What did the rest of the season show you? I mean, be careful what you see in these final games. You're looking for something. Well, sometimes what you're looking for just isn't there. And
hold up. I'm gonna stick up for Pierce for just a second. I'm not a big Raiders fan. I've not followed them a whole lot, but I think Antonio Pierce and Gerard Mayo were in very similar situations, and just from roster construction and that kind of thing, I'm not sure what Pierce had to work with that made you feel like he or they were going to be any better than they were.
Very true. And with Gerard Mayo, let's not forget, he was the anointed successor in his contract well before, and he inherited a roster that, literally drove Bill Belichick out of the NFL. I mean, let's face it, if the roster were better, Bill would still probably be coaching the Pats. It's that simple. If they were a winning program and he was the guy in charge of that roster, and again, people who think you can flip a roster in the NFL in an offseason, you can't. You just cannot. And yeah, Gerard Mayo, it feels very much like who interviewed with the Jets on Friday?
We do.
A former Titans coach named Mike Vrabel. Mm-hmm. It feels like the statement from Robert Kraft saying that, I said, bye-bye Gerard. I mean, I heard some of the Patriots players hadn't even gotten home when that move was made. Right. So, I mean, you spend all this time setting Gerard Mayo up and keeping him from interviewing for other jobs because you're telling him you're going to be our coach when Bill leaves, and you give him 1 year. Yeah, that he, to me, was put in a much tougher situation because it feels like he's being shoved over the cliff because I see Mike Vrabel over there.
Let me ask you this, and I just thought about it here in the last 30 seconds listening to you. Vrabel interviewing with the Jets, how much did that have to do with the Pats getting rid of Mayo?
Well, we'll find out. I mean, everybody that's out there are drawing lines, pretty short lines, it feels like. I mean, let's face it, the only team that seems like it might be in play to lure him away is if the Raiders make a move with Antonio Pierce. Why? Guess who's one of the minority owners of the Raiders? Mike Vrabel's old buddy, Tom Brady. And so it's like if they do the same thing, if Antonio Pierce gets pushed off the edge, and yes, getting rid of a coach after one season, essentially as a full-time head coach, ask Lovie Smith how it feels. Ask his predecessor in Houston how it feels. Sometimes guys literally are set up to fail and take they get there's a reason the word scapegoat came to be made. And yes, it's not the first time a team has fired somebody so they could hire somebody. And, guess what? neither the Raiders nor the Patriots thought Mike Vrabel would be available. And, had they known this in last year, but the Patriots were already locked into Mayo, and Mark Davis loved what he saw. And Tom Brady was not approved officially as a minority owner until this fall by the NFL. So things have changed since last January. So let's wait and see. But right now, the shortest line, why? Because the opening is in New England. And Mike Vrabel was inducted into their Hall of Fame. And, so it's like, yeah, it does seem like there's a very short line back to that path.
TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. The Titans have the number 1 pick for the first time since 2016. There are folks who will know this off the top of their head. I didn't. I had to have my memory refreshed, but that pick got traded to the Rams. That pick became Jared Goff. The Titans got 6 picks back in that trade, one of which became Derrick Henry. So
they also took an All-Pro and Kevin Byard to start the 3rd round. So they netted that trade. And that's why if you can find a trade partner, if you could get somebody like a Mike Ditka who falls in love with Shedeur Sanders so much, they'll give you all your draft picks, take them. The Titans right now have 8 picks in this upcoming draft. They do not have the 3rd round pick. Why? It's going to KC as part of that Snead trade. So yeah, that's a costly one because that's a top 100 pick right there. So if you make a trade down, you're going to want to get some good picks to make up for what you've given up and moved around. That's why DeAndre Hopkins was sent to Kansas City, but that was not for that 3rd round pick. So, if you can mimic what John Robinson did in his first draft as a GM, trade back, and, Jack Conklin was an All-Pro as a rookie right tackle. Kevin Byard became an All-Pro once he became a starter, 2-time All-Pro with the Titans. Derrick Henry, enough said, he's going in the Hall of Fame one day. And yes, I say that now because, every time you see him do something this year, he is in company with 3 or 4 other people. And when Jim Brown's name is mentioned, that's a good thing. So that's the kind of thing you need. Problem is, out of that group, only 2 people signed 2nd contracts, Kevin Byard and Derrick Henry. So that's the thing. You've got to, once you take, and that's part of the John Robinson legacy as well. I counted it up. Only 5 guys that were drafted by John Robinson signed 2nd contracts with this team. And he traded 1 guy to Philly for the 18th pick overall, which, as you mentioned, we won't really go into Traylon Burks. So that's the thing. If you make the trade back, you've got to use the picks right. And that's why I think it is tough to move on from Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker, as angry as people are. And I've seen, I saw it sell the team trending yesterday on social media. And boy, Bear fans, Giant fans, Titan fans, you've got lots of company out there in fan world of thinking you could get a better owner. Okay. And the problem is Amy Adams Strunk has not talked to anyone, has not taken questions from anyone who does not work for her since she talked to me December 9th about firing John Robinson. Last year when she fired Mark Vrabel, she talked to, who did she talk to? People who work for her. No offense, Mike Keith, love you. You do great work, but you work for her. She signed your checks. And we don't know what she's wanting to do, but she helped pick Rand Carthon. She promoted Chad Brinker to president of football operations last year. They talked about expanding their analytics department. And you've got to get, a year ago, the whole thing was let Rand cook. Well, do you want a microwave meal, or is this, this is a situation that called for a crock pot.
Yeah, it did. TERESA, we're going to have a lot of time to talk about the number 1 pick, and
4 months, baby.
Far more than we're going to enjoy, I think, but it's probably at this point the most riveting thing about this franchise. So we will We will visit with you more soon as we know more about what's going on out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. But we appreciate it, and we'll catch you up.
Mark your calendars. First night of the draft, April 24th in Green Bay. And I probably will be missing the draft because your former intern is getting married that weekend. He actually scheduled his wedding for the third day of the draft, and the rehearsal is the first day of the draft. So, yeah. So stay tuned.
So what is that, the 27th?
No, April 24th in Green Bay.
No. The wedding is
the 26th.
26th.
So the 24th is Thursday, first night of the draft in Green Bay. So Titan fans, if you want to go have a reason to go to Lambeau and enjoy the NFL draft, you've got a reason to go to Lambeau now. And, because they're going to be picking high, if they trade back, they're still picking high. And then
but don't expect to run into Teresa while you're there. So.
I won't be there.
Teresa, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey, let's take a break. Let's come back for the final segment of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It's the Grab Bag. Stay tuned.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
It is the final segment of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're wrapping it up by getting into the grab bag. As we mentioned earlier in the show, both UT and Vanderbilt women dropped home court matchups in Southeastern Conference play yesterday. Tennessee falling 87-86 to Oklahoma. Vanderbilt falling to Kentucky 96-78. Three of those four teams were ranked. Oklahoma was number 9, Tennessee was 15, and Kentucky was 16. Vanderbilt probably would have broken into the top 25 with a victory, but couldn't quite get there yesterday, but still playing some really good ball right now. Tennessee had gotten down as much as 19, I think specifically 70-51 against Oklahoma, and then really ratcheted up the defensive pressure, created some turnovers, got out in transition, playing the way Kim Caldwell really wants to play, and got that thing down to 1 point with the ball inside the final 8 seconds or so. And Sarah Puckett takes a wide open 3 from the top of the key with about 6 seconds to play. Hits it off the heel. Oklahoma rebounds it. Ball game. Did not feel like, to me, a great shot under the circumstances. I was really hoping that they would get something going toward the basket in the paint, maybe draw some contact, maybe get to the free throw line. But, maybe that's part of learning how to win close ball games against tough competition in conference play. But tough loss there for the Lady Vols as they fall for the first time under Kim Caldwell.
Yeah, tough loss, but I mean, Tennessee, as great a start as this season has been, you're still kind of crawling back to super national prominence, right? And you're getting Oklahoma's best shot, and that's not just any Oklahoma team. That's a top 10 squad. It's kind of been in that. It's kind of been a role reversal of what we've been used to seeing for years and years with Tennessee. So kind of can't hang your head too much. Sure, you obviously want to win the game, but I would imagine in a weird way, if I'm a Tennessee fan, as frustrating as the loss probably was, you got to at least have some sort of positivity about the fact you did dig yourself out of that big of a hole.
Oh, absolutely, without question. Again, down 19 late, and all of a sudden you have pressed a top 10 team to the very brink there, before falling there. So yeah, like you said, there's plenty to like about this Tennessee team. They take a lot of threes, and that's not always a recipe for success. I mean, if they're falling, you're fantastic. If they're not, it can get kind of ugly. Um,
Yeah, 10 of
Yesterday,
36 yesterday.
and they were what? They were 10 of 36. Yeah, so live by it. We've seen it, but I mean that's her recipe, man.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you're signed up for with her at the helm, and kind of the way the game is being played right now, especially on the ladies' side. It feels like that teams are finding that sweet spot at the collegiate level, leaning into the three. Who's it? Jules Beer hit 6 threes yesterday as part of that spirited comeback. So I mean, it's part of it. Yeah, it's a frustrating one, and Tennessee fans undoubtedly probably thought they were just going to roll through the SEC until they got to South Carolina before they faced the stiff test. But this is a deep league, maybe not quite as intense top to bottom, if you will, as on the men's side, but it's certainly a super competitive league, and you gotta look for a little positivity considering where you maybe were this time last year for Tennessee fans.
certainly, and I think I think it spoke to the quality of this league when play opened Thursday with number 5 Texas at number 9 Oklahoma. So that's like you said, it may not be the depth of quality that you see on the men's side, but there's some good ball being played in the Southeastern Conference on the women's side. And look no further again than Memorial Gym yesterday. Kentucky improving to 13-1 under their new coach, Kenny Brooks, the guy that came over from Virginia Tech, and he brought a pretty good one with him in Georgia Amore, who finished with 24 points in that victory yesterday. Kentucky not going anywhere, but as you were saying about Vanderbilt, I think you got to. I mean, as you were saying about Tennessee, I think you got to like what you're seeing out of Vanderbilt right now. 19 points, 11 boards out of Camille Pierre. The Blake's kid with 24 after scoring 36 on Thursday night. They've got some pieces, and Shay Ralph is doing a great job. I'm a little baffled to look and see that they only went 3 deep into their bench yesterday. That's a little odd to me, but hey, Shay Ralph's won a lot more ball games than I have, so
yeah,
don't
and
leave that there.
to that point, for both of those squads, just like our opening segment when we talked about the men's side, you got to rally quickly because Vanderbilt's got a date with Ole Miss coming up on the road here coming up soon, and then Tennessee's got an undefeated LSU team coming to town on Thursday night. So it is going to be really up, just like the men. It's a war of attrition. And really, in many regards, how quickly, you're going to lose a game or two. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it's how quickly can you rally behind those losses and make sure they don't turn into bad streaks.
You don't get to lick your wounds very long.
No.
For sure. So, yeah. Speaking of women's basketball, UConn got a little bit of a scare, and I guess they've still got a little bit of a scare. Paige Booker's injured her left knee in their win over Villanova on Saturday. Apparently there was a collision for a loose ball, and she at best hyperextended it when a Villanova player dove for the ball and made contact with her. She missed the remainder of the game. Obviously, she tore the ACL in that same left knee couple of years ago, but Gino seemed to think that it's not the worst that we can imagine. So that's great news considering how awkward it was, he said. So They play Xavier in Big East action on Wednesday. We'll see if she gets back. But I don't think UConn plays a ranked opponent until they play Tennessee early next month. So, which is, in marked contrast to the Southeastern Conference. That's the joy of being UConn in the Big East. So they may be able to kind of ease Booker's back in a little bit more easily and be a little bit more cautious with that knee situation. But obviously one of the best players in the country, and you hate to lose her. We'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. And the other person that's breathing a sigh of relief is Chris Clark-Lanes, who's the head coach of the Dallas Wings. He's saying, ooh, thank goodness. My number one pick just almost went up in flames right there before my very eyes.
Hello. I'm glad you figured out how to pronounce that, because I
just took my best shot, partner. There was no style guide listed there. I just gave it a whirl.
Okay.
You just got to speak confidently and just pretend like you know what you're talking about.
There you go. Just run it out there.
Yeah.
Act like
you don't announce. You don't announce NAIA soccer by pronouncing every name correctly. You just got to roll with the punches, baby.
Do your best. Wouldn't be the grab bag without a little portal talk. And I guess I had forgotten that Jaden Rashada was at Georgia. And I guess it's just as well, because now he's not at Georgia. Went into the portal over the weekend after one season. This kid committed to Miami, signed with Florida, wound up at Arizona State, spent this past season at Georgia, and is now on the move again. And
his timeline on 24/7 Sports, his recruiting timeline is a sight to behold.
I bet it is.
And that includes suing Billy Napier. I mean, this guy's done it all. He's decommitted, asked out of his NIL. He's gone to Arizona State, as you mentioned. He turns around and sues Billy Napier to try and get some back pay and stuff. I mean, this is like a walking soap opera.
Some back pay from a school that he never played for.
Right. And then when Carson Beck goes down, this guy's name's not even mentioned. So that kind of tells you a little bit of everything. Did sniff the field a little bit last year with Arizona State, but he himself was injured. So it's been a weird soap opera with this guy, but it is a sight to behold on his recruiting timeline.
It's crazy too. I mean, how do you have all that buzz coming out of high school and you're 3 years in basically, and you've certainly not made an impact on the field? So
hopefully at least cashing some NIL checks rather than just signing and getting out of them at this point.
Rashada is out. The Branch brothers are in. Wide receiver Zachariah Branch and safety Zion Branch, who were in the transfer portal from Southern Cal, announced yesterday that they are Athens bound. Zachariah is the number 2 wide receiver in 24/7 Sports transfer portal rankings. Spent 2 seasons at USC, was an All-American as a true freshman. 47 catches, 503 yards, and a touchdown this past season. So he's going to be impactful for Gunnar Stockton or whoever it is at quarterback for the Bulldogs this time around.
A lot of moving. And some good news from the Wolverines. They didn't just win the ReliaQuest Bowl versus Alabama, Mo. They won the Justice Haynes sweepstakes as the Alabama running back.
How about that?
He's sliding on up. I was hoping that he would just walk across the field in the middle of the game. And because there was a lot of chatter before the game that he was coming up, but he made it official afterwards.
Just leave his jersey and his helmet in the middle of the field and go on across. Yeah, I like.
I hope that's what we come to. We have players just walking across in the middle of games. That'd be fun.
Captain Chaos. That's going to do it for the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back right here at 2 o'clock tomorrow, where we will do it all again. Thanks, y'all. See you.